Move over, Raiden. There's a new lightning god in town, and he is metal as hell. So it's been long enough now since the release of Thor Ragnarok that I can do a spoiler video, which means this is an official spoiler warning. If you haven't seen Thor Ragnarok yet, go away, go watch it, come back, then watch this video so that nothing gets spoiled for you. Or alternatively, you can watch my spoiler-free review, which is also available. But if you have seen Thor Ragnarok and you want to talk spoilers, this is the place to do it, so let's get into it! So my main problem with Thor the Dark World was its lack of commitment to changing the status quo within Thor and the Marvel Universe. There was one point at the end of that film where Thor gets his arm cut off, and I thought, great, they're going to do that part of the comics where Thor gets a gnarly Asgardian metal arm instead of his regular one because it got cut off, and that's going to be his new character thing that he has. But instead it was like, oh no, it's fine, he's fine really, because Loki just used a little bit of misdirection, and hey look, he's fine, and everything's normal again. And I felt like I got cheated out of some stuff that actually could have been changed for the better. Thor Ragnarok goes all out. Right from the start, they changed the status quo because it's Odin dying that brings about Hela and manages to release her from whatever prison that he was keeping her in because him being alive was keeping her there. And even though she kind of suffers a little bit from disposable villain syndrome in this film, it's not entirely clear whether she dies at the end or not, because there is a Thanos theory where, because Marvel don't own the rights to Lady Death as a character for Thanos to be infatuated with, it could be that Hela, being the goddess of death, is the focus of his infatuations instead. And we don't technically see her die at the end of this film, so I'm going by the Game of Thrones rule that unless it's confirmed, it's still potentially gonna come back at some point. So the fact that she is possibly dead at the end of this means that there's a little bit of suffering from disposable villain syndrome. But before that point, she causes so much damage, and so much happens because of her being brought into the fold that it means she's already making changes to the status quo. By the end of the film, Asgard has been destroyed because they say that Asgard isn't a place, it's the people that exist there. They are Asgardians, and therefore if they are all together, Asgard is wherever they are. So now Asgard, I guess, is a giant colony ship traveling through space, piloted and captained by Thor. But even before the end of the film, she is changing status quos. Right at the start of the film, she crushes Mjolnir, and Thor is left without his weapon of choice that he channels all of his lightning through. So he's kind of at a loss for how to channel his powers. And it's not like he magically finds something else that he can use either. He just knows that the power of the God of Thunder is in him. It's not in his hammer. So he starts using his powers in a more creative way, which I really liked, and it changed the status quo of that character. And towards the end of the film, in their kind of big final fight, Hela takes out Thor's eye, and he is left without an eye on his right-hand side. And it wasn't like they somehow managed it into a trick, or that, you know, he got a different, like, mechanical eye later or whatever. No, he now has an eye patch there like Odin did. The shot from the trailer where he stands up on the Bifrost and he's got the lightning coming out of both eyes, that was changed in the film. And I loved that. I thought that was great. This trailer revealing something that turns out to be a total misdirection. Well done you. Clever, clever Marvel. I also like that there are a bunch of Easter eggs in the film if you really look for them, but one of the most obvious ones was on the side of the Grandmaster's building where they have the statues of heads of previous champions. There is one with Beta Ray Bill in there, which I really like the nod to, because I don't think that by this point we're gonna get any full-on reference or character inclusion of Beta Ray Bill, because that's an entirely different storyline that they've probably gone past the point of doing now. But the fact that they keep referencing this character in little nods, I really liked that. And then obviously, as with every Marvel film, there are the post-credit scenes, and the first post-credit scene is Thor and Loki on the Asgardian colony ship traveling through space heading towards Earth, and then out of the background rises a huge ship, which I can only assume is a Thanos ship, which kind of shows that one of the first interactions with any of the heroes in Infinity War with Thanos is going to be through Thor. And if any of the trailers that have been shown or any of the clips that have been shown at Comic-Cons are to be believed, something happens after this point when Thor first interacts with Thanos that means Thor ends up with the Guardians of the Galaxy. So they're both in the right setting, maybe they're all in the right place at the right time, depending on how you're looking at it, and then they all come together, and so starts Infinity War. So I guess the biggest spoiler of Thor Ragnarok is that it actually sticks to the status quo changes that it makes in the film and doesn't try to somehow change them at the end. So that's actually pretty commendable. And I think this is the start of Marvel making some serious status quo changes within the cinematic universe that will have knock-on effects in other films. Also, I guess, spoiler, Thor is a huge badass now, again. So that's another plus. And with that, the spoiler discussion is done with. So I'm assuming you've seen Thor Ragnarok by this point, otherwise you might not have watched this video, or if you have, you've just ruined the film for yourselves. Congratulations. Either way, what was your favourite spoiler about the film? What part do you want to see expanded on more, and what are you looking forward to seeing more of Thor in the future? All comments are welcome in the comments section below. Let's talk nerdy. As always, if you've liked what you've seen here and you want to see more, you can click right here to subscribe and see more in the future. Until that point, I will see you next time.